I experienced sleepwalking when I was a child.
Really?
You know what's so interesting? Let's get into this. I have felt like I have a blockage around spirits, ghosts, souls, contacting the other realm, really, truly accessing a different state. And what I mean is, like, if I'm not sleeping and I'm like not dreaming, I'm not going to get into the subconscious if I'm not sleeping.
I love this. Let's get into this now. For those who are deep enough to get it,
But profound enough to not care.
you're listening to Consciously Unconscious.
Happy Friday the 13th, bitches.
Happy Friday the 13th, MTV. Welcome to our future crib.
Don't get morbid on me 5 seconds in. If you're not watching on YouTube, we are recording from a graveyard, and we thought it was only fitting because it's Friday the 13th. We wanted a vibe that was a little bit spooky.
Spooky.
I feel like Friday the 13th gets kind of
A bad rap.
a bad rap, but I will say something that was unlucky that happened to us today was we did a photo shoot and we got back all of the photos and we hate all of them. So
It was a tough day. We were trying to get the podcast cover with this photo shoot, and we're in our luteal phases, so we weren't really feeling photogenic.
I was about to say nothing against the photographer. I think it literally was just
No,
the
it
fact
was
that
us.
we were
the problem.
We were Fiona from Shrek, but the ogre version. Like that's how
Exactly.
I felt.
Trampling through all parts of Denver to get the shoot.
Yep.
But here we are, and we're thriving. So welcome back to Consciously Unconscious.
Welcome. I'm Amanda. If you're new here,
I'm Jessa. If you're new here, you can only be new once, right? If you're new here
Technically.
today, you'll never be new here again.
and we hope you stay.
By the time this launches, it's not going to be Friday the 13th, but it will be like spooky season.
And there's going to be another Friday the 13th in December, which I think is fun. And we wanted to do an episode where we're talking about it because when we originally thought of the idea, we were like, ooh, this would be fun, like spooky Halloween vibe. But then we
Yeah.
looked into it and we were like, oh my gosh.
Well, I think that there's popular opinion of Halloween, spookiness, fall, like that change in seasons. There's nothing better. That like melancholic, weird, like just like
It's like a
build up of
nostalgic
energy.
comfort.
Yeah, it's so good. But I did do a little research on Friday the 13th. Do you know the history of it?
I do not, and I'm excited to learn. But first, we have to talk about our beverage of the week.
Jessa and Amanda's beverage.
I started with you last week, and you're going to start over without me this week.
You're right.
Let's start over. We need a little countdown, I think.
A 3, a 2.
3, 2, 1.
Jessa and Amanda's beverage of the week.
Cheers.
You know what's fun about today is that we have 2 bevies of the week.
We do.
So we obviously have a little blood. Sangria. It's really just $6 red wine. It's got a lot of sulfites in it, so tomorrow we're going to look worse than we do today.
To be honest, though, it's really nice. And I'm such a red wine girly. Like, I think I've been into white wine this summer. Like, you can't beat a crisp, cold Sauvignon Blanc in the summer. It's just so good.
Yeah.
But I'm such a red wine girly. And I actually think it honestly helps my menstrual cycle. Like, when I'm like in my luteal phase or bleeding, I kind of want just like one glass of red wine.
They tell you good for the heart.
Right?
Yeah.
That was my
Good for the baby, good for the heart.
I don't know about that one.
They do. I think there was like an old wives' tale that like old women used to drink like one red glass of wine.
I think that was just an excuse to make
day.
themselves feel better.
Maybe. I'll be drinking when I'm pregnant. So the second bevy was really, truly fitting. A Liquid Death. Sponsored.
You know, I've never had a Liquid Death.
Really?
No.
They just had a lot of like recalls for
For
being
what?
like
It's water,
cancerous. I don't know.
What is in it?
The cans have like BPAs in them and stuff.
they're flavored.
Yeah, so I got you a mango and I got me a convicted melon.
Did you know that mango is my least favorite
Here,
fruit?
take the melon. I thought you said you hate
No, I'm
watermelon
just kidding.
too.
No, I like watermelon. I just don't like watermelon like juice. It's just water.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be something about the cans. But anywho, we're all going to
Ooh,
die
that way,
anyways.
That's delicious.
I don't know if I would say a lot of research, but I did watch a couple YouTube videos.
A couple TED Talks.
A couple TED Talks. And what I did find was that it's very interesting how no one has any clue what a lot of like traditions and like origins of belief are. And so Friday the 13th, do you have a guess?
Well, I did do a little bit of my
Okay,
own
then don't
research.
guess. So let me take you all back to medieval times. We're talking late 1200s, early 1300s, a span of about 200 years. Christianity starts to come into play as leading the world. Maybe not the world. Big concept. Pope becomes big man on campus. Popey Pope guy is like, I need a team of people because ruling the world through God is hard work. Like Christianity and taking over the world through the church.
Exhausting.
Exhausting. So he hires a team of people, and he has his Jesuits, which are his devout followers. And then he has his, oh, please don't tell me I'm going to forget it right in the middle of the story. His Knights of Templar.
Okay.
The Knights of Templar, stars of the story here. The Knights of Templar, think of like Brink's security truck men, how they move money around. The Knights of Templar were like the bankers for the Pope. So they're moving money from church to church, from state to state. They're like, you know, the bankers that the Pope has hired out, who all come from royal families. They're armed bankers. So they are doing great. They're moving money around. Church is making money. The only way to exist in society is to be part of the church, essentially. Pope realizes these knights have a lot of power and a lot of money now. And they're armed. And they could potentially overthrow the structure that I've created. Like, they were starting to be seen as a threat.
And Pope didn't like that.
Popey Pope said, no gracias.
Not on my watch.
Not on my time. So he hired his Jesuits, his devout followers, on Friday the 13th of what month? I don't know, but of the year 1304 to go and plan an attack where they killed all of the Knights of Templar. So we're talking a big bloodbath, blood up to the ankles, like massive murder scene. And they burned their leader at the stake, but they used wet wood, so he would burn slower as a statement. And then everyone took this as a sign of like, okay, don't fuck with Sir Popey Pope, don't fuck with Christianity, they can do whatever they want. Everyone was scared of Friday the 13th. It became this like big historical bloodbath. And then what they did with all the bones, the skulls and the bones, is they buried them in the catacombs that they used to keep the money in. So that's how the skull and the bones became like a big symbol of Friday the 13th.
See, this is not what I read when I did my own research.
You know, you can find anything on the internet too.
Well, that's very
Back up your
interesting.
beliefs.
And I think, again, like, that's a different story from the one that I researched. But what I also researched was, like, Jesus at the Last Supper invited a 13th guest who betrayed him, correct?
I did hear this theory.
And so I think that the 13th guest, like, there never was supposed to be a 13th guest, and the 13th guest was the one who betrayed him. But I also thought it was really interesting because there's a specific word for the fear of the number 13.
Yeah, I wrote it. Wait, do you have it?
No, read it.
Okay. Paraskividecatriophobia.
One more time.
Paraskividecatriophobia.
Another.
Paraskividecatriophobia. It's like that kid who's like in the spelling bee and he goes, iridocyclisis.
I personally don't feel scared or fearful on Friday the 13th, but when I'm driving in the car, I cannot have my volume of my music on 13.
You know, they really started to design buildings in the 1970s in New York without 13th floors.
Still to this day.
Yeah.
Anywhere. There's no 13th floor.
Which technically there is. It's just labeled 14.
Exactly. But the number itself scares people.
Correct.
I thought was so interesting too, and it kind of just speaks to the validity of this fear. And I think we're going to speak to it more too, is like, you know, this is a subconscious belief that we are fearful of, but actually when we strip it down, are we fearful of it?
Correct.
But what was so interesting was in other cultures and other countries, there's actually different days that is essentially their Friday the 13th. So I think in Italy, it's like Tuesday the 17th.
Oh.
Or like Tuesday the 13th. Certain days and different numbers. And I believe it also speaks to how the number sounds in a different language and it relating to their word for death as well. It's
You did
so
more research
fascinating.
than me.
I just literally watched a TEDx video.
But yeah, it's really interesting. And I think that like people also love to pick things to believe in, blindly follow. And it's kind of fun to believe in Friday the 13th. Like it doesn't actually scare me, but I'm like, ooh, what's going to happen today?
Have you ever had any experiences on Friday the 13th that felt spooky?
That's a good question. I don't know if necessarily has correlated specifically to Friday the 13th. It's kind of like one of those things where when you are specifically looking for something, you see it more. Mm-hmm. Like when someone's like, oh my God, I always see the number on the clock, 12:34.
Your reticular activating system.
Oh, you know this?
That's what, yeah, it's your RAS. So whenever you are more conscious of something, there is this thing in your brain called the reticulator. The wine's kicking in. The reticular activating system, which is your RAS, which basically acts as a filter for that thing. So say you really want a red car. You're going to see more red cars on the street after you have already told your brain that, because your RAS is kicking in and filtering to specifically red cars.
Love.
So that's basically what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I think that's like with Friday the 13th. Like people could have really shitty, weird, spookier days on other days of the month. But because it's Friday the 13th, people are like, oh my God, it's because of the spirits. It's because of the supernatural. But I personally can't think of anything specific. Do you?
No, I don't. Nothing notable.
Maybe something spooky will happen now. Hopefully
Let's not put that into the ether.
Yeah, I didn't.
You know
say
what?
That.
We actually didn't burn our Palo Santo. I think we should do that.
Well, can you show what I brought to hold it?
Oh, Jessa brought a little cauldron, a little baby cauldron. Where did you get this cauldron?
It was a gift.
From who?
A friend.
It's so adorable.
Don't you love her? She's like pretty heavy. If you're not watching the video and you're just listening on your way to work or something.
No, she's straight cast iron.
It's like this tiny size of your palm baby little cauldron. And I keep my Palo Santo in there. So let's just light her up.
What else do you use this for?
This is pretty much it. This is the first use it's ever really had.
Do 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 do. Honestly though, while she's lighting this, I have to say there is something so peaceful about a cemetery, and it's actually really cool because you see, like, I'm staring at one that's 1884 to 1939. Like, I can't even comprehend 1884.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I don't know what was happening.
But like that's just like been a minute.
Yeah, and it's also just like if we really want to get into death again, which is fitting for this episode, I suppose, and since where we are, but all the differences in cultures about how we celebrate and mourn the passing of a loved one. Like I think in America, like in this graveyard, we can say that probably 95% of the people here, like it was a tragic passing and let go of that person. Like everyone was like, oh, you know, this is so sad, they've left us, oh my gosh, like blah, like grief. And it's not that there isn't grief in other cultures for someone's loss, but I think it's celebrated a lot more. Like let's focus on their life versus,
it's more accepting.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we're such a youth obsessed culture.
Totally. And we're such a quantity over quality culture.
True.
Where like I forget which culture it is, but someone has to like ask their family if their family is acceptant and ready to let them go before they die. And they have to get yeses, technically, if they're able to, before they pass, before they release and let go.
Whoa.
So that they know that their family is going to be okay after they die.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
It is so interesting. And I also, before we got on the mic, I was asking Jessa, I was like, do you think that the souls are actually still, I don't think the souls are in these bodies anymore, you know?
Well, because every death is a rebirth of the soul somewhere else, right? Like if the first rule of physics is that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, and all we are is energy, and energy is beyond our body, like physical body, then I believe they can come back and visit. They can come back, they can transcend to be here.
Yeah.
Not in a physical, humanly presentation. But no, I don't think they're all like trapped in their little caskets in there.
Right.
But I think that they
would
can
suck.
come back.
Could you imagine? You're just fucking trapped in a box.
Dude,
No thanks.
that'd be tough.
No thanks.
And dark.
Very.
Do you know what I think would be the worst purgatory in the world? Being consistently hungry or have an appetite and not being able to be satiated.
I think I would just die.
But let's say you weren't able to die. That's what purgatory is. You can't die.
But I would just be on the ground, paralyzed.
I wouldn't participate in anything.
I would just be paralyzed.
So we've covered Friday the 13th, which was kind of the theme of this episode. But what we really want to talk about is written in our title, Consciously Unconscious. Like, we're diving into the spookiness and the mysteries of the mind, of the subconscious. And a couple episodes, couple episodes. Do you ever just can't speak because
have a stroke?
Something's happening to my motor skills, to my reticular activating system. A couple topics that came to mind when we were brainstorming this episode is, well, the first one I think is really interesting.
I am on the edge of my seat, Jessa.
Sleepwalking. Sleepwalking.
So I guess we're going to explore some unconscious states, correct?
Yeah, some states of the subconscious mind.
I experienced sleepwalking when I was a child.
Really?
You know what's so interesting? Let's get into this because this leads into this conversation. I have felt like I have a blockage around spirits, ghosts, souls, contacting the other realm. But I also feel like that goes along with really, truly accessing a different state. And what I mean is, like, if I'm not sleeping and I'm like not dreaming, I'm not going to get into the subconscious if I'm not sleeping.
I love this. Let's get into this now. Let's
Yeah.
not even wait to get into this later in the episode. I'm hooked.
Okay.
Keep going.
Well, I don't know if something happened to my childhood because I used to sleepwalk in my childhood. Like I had an upstairs room and my parents were on the first floor and I would walk down the stairs sleepwalking.
Yeah.
And be over my parents' bed, just looking. And
because you sleepwalk with your eyes wide open. It's the weirdest shit.
And I don't know why I have this in my head, but whenever I think about the sleepwalking experiences, I also always think about a fox, and I don't know why. I don't know why. I can't access it. I don't know what it means, but I literally...
You just associate the two.
I associate it with a fox, and I don't know if, like, in my dream, I was a fox, and I, like, sleptwalk, or in my dream, there was a fox that told me to sleep. I don't know.
It's also interesting because foxes are pretty elusive and, like, kind of soft and mysterious. Like, they're not very loud and aggressive. They're not, like... They're just, like, they almost feel like they fit the vibe of sleepwalking.
I'm going to have to look online afterward of, like, the symbolism of a fox.
I should know this because I love foxes. And there was a time that I was staying in Breckenridge and a fox literally was, like, eating out of my hand. Oh, my gosh. Crazy.
You weren't scared of it?
No, he was so sweet and docile.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, small.
Well, yeah, I had that experience growing up, and it wasn't like every single night. It was just a few times. I would also sleep talk. Like, my brother and I would have full-blown conversations in our sleep. And there was one time where I specifically remember I was sleeping over one of my friend's house in elementary school. And I literally woke up in the middle of the night and I sleptwalk out of her front door.
No way.
And I think the alarm went off and her mom was like, "What are you, like, what's going on?" And I was like, "I'm looking for Summer." Her name's Summer. And she's like,
You said
she's
this
literally
when
in her
you
bed.
were awake.
I think I, like,
Came to
a little bit.
Well, it's a myth that you're not supposed to wake up a sleepwalker. You're definitely supposed to wake them up, but you should be prepared upon waking that they are going to be confused and potentially aggressive. That's why they, like, tell you not to, but, like, you should either gently direct them, like, back to bed without having to wake them, or, like, if they're getting into something dangerous, you should wake them, and then they're probably going to be like, "What the fuck?"
Well, that was me, and I always came to pretty quickly. I've never been, like, a super deep sleeper.
Were you scared of yourself when you woke up?
No.
That you weren't in your bed?
No, not at all.
Because I feel like a lot of people have experiences where they don't notice that they're sleepwalking, and then maybe they wake up in their living room and then they're like, "Oh, the fuck did I get here?"
I think I feel like if it was really like I fell asleep in my bed and I woke up somewhere else situation, I would be terrified. But I think it was more of a situation where, like, in my dream, I was doing the thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I was somewhere in between conscious and unconscious because I think I was conscious of what I was doing, but I was fully asleep.
Well, that's exactly what sleepwalking is. It's like this blend between having your developed mind, your frontal lobe, your, like, conscious mind be asleep, but your subconscious mind is able to remain awake so you can perform complex behaviors like walking, sometimes eating, like seeing, but you're not processing what you're seeing. A lot of psychologists say that sleepwalking is suppressed, like subconscious trauma.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What do you
mean? Or
mean?
like subconscious beliefs. Like, I'm curious. I wish we had a therapist on deck here, like a psychiatrist rather, to...
If you're a therapist listening, just get ready to therapize me.
Yeah. Can you tell us what's wrong with Amanda?
And then DM me.
But the fox thing is interesting, like what the
Right?
symbolism of that is. And maybe it's just connected to like a dream you were having at the time. But like, I wonder if the dreams promote the sleepwalking.
Right?
And then it's connected to your subconscious beliefs because your dreams technically are supposed to be like unresolved subconscious traumas and beliefs.
I'm wondering if it also had something to do with the fact that like my mom would lay in bed with me before, like when I would fall asleep for a really long time, probably until I was like 6 or 8.
Maybe you were like looking for her?
Maybe I was looking for her. I think maybe that could have been it. Like my mom would fall asleep with me in bed and then I would be asleep and she would go back to her bed or she would whatever.
I kind of want to sleepwalk.
Have you never sleptwalked?
I get sleep paralysis, which is also extremely unnerving.
What does that entail? I've never experienced it.
I would rather sleepwalk than get sleep
wood.
paralysis. Sleep paralysis is like, it's a similar state where you're halfway in between like sleep and wake. And what happens is, at least what's happened in my experience, is it's always in the morning and it's after I wake up and then I don't get out of bed and I let myself fall back asleep. And then I'm like kind of like half asleep, half awake. And I feel like my eyes are open, but they're actually closed. But I feel like I can see my whole room. Like I can see everything around me, but I can't. And it's almost the opposite. My mind is awake, but I'm stuck in my body. I can't move my limbs. Like I can tell myself.
You really can't?
No, like you are locked. It feels like, have you ever had lockjaw?
No.
Oh goodness.
Not sucking enough dick.
Yeah, apparently not the right way at least. So like same feeling where you literally can't close it. Like I can feel like I'm looking around my room. I can feel like I'm awake. My body is stuck. I can tell myself, move your arm. And
so how do you get out of it?
But what usually it also induces is very scary scenes. So like a lot of like demonic faces or like sounds. Like mine is very audio oriented. Like I see less of the visuals. That's kind of like a classic identifier of sleep paralysis is the visuals, but I get a lot more audio. Like I can hear someone in my house, like footsteps, or it's terrifying.
So all the therapists
10 out of 10 don't recommend. Yeah, what's wrong with me?
What's the root of that trauma?
Well, I had to call 911 the other night because of that trauma.
Do you think that was the sleep paralysis thing too?
It wasn't sleep paralysis. Was it sleep paralysis? No, it wasn't. I was fully awake.
Not me trying to convince you that like it wasn't real.
Amanda's gaslighting me that I had an invalid call to 911.
She was hearing noises outside of her window, so she called.
But I think it is connected to like your subconscious beliefs because again, I don't really see visuals, but since a child, like 5 or 6 years old, I would beg my parents to check every single window and every single door before we went to sleep because I was scared of robbers and burglars and people coming into the home. I was never scared of monsters under my bed or monsters in my closet. So like not that I'm not scared of, a demon face if it pops up in my dream, but like that's not what's coming up for me.
Right.
I'm hearing footsteps as if someone's breaking into my house.
So potentially maybe in a past life that something like that happened to you. Let's get into superstitions really quick because I kind of feel similar with like the checking the doors or whatever before you went to bed.
Yeah.
I had gnarly superstitions that like at night. Well, there's also like some fun superstitions that like my mom always did.
Like what?
Like whenever we would go over train track, she'd lift her feet up in the car.
Stop it.
Yeah. Did
Why?
you hear that?
I've never heard that one.
Just
a thing. Like
whenever I drive past a cemetery, I hold my breath.
Well, you would...
I can't hold my breath here. I'd literally be in the grave. But the other one, obviously, is like if you step on a crack, you break your mother's back.
Oh,
like,
yeah. I followed that.
Yeah.
I also get the broken mirror one.
I don't get
Bad
that.
luck for the rest of your life.
They don't get that.
7 years.
Never heard
something.
it. Mm-mm.
No eye contact when... I'm getting a couple confused, I believe.
You're making them up as you go?
I'm actually inputting superstitions into your brain.
Well, the ones that I was very superstitious growing up. I traveled a lot for my dad's job, so I was always on planes. I also have a massive fear of planes. I don't know why. I never used to have like a massive fear of planes, but like I've been on enough planes and been in like enough, not like scary situations, but like unsettling situations that are totally normal, just like not comfortable to be in. Because we used to always drive in or fly into Aspen, and that's a really scary airport to fly into. You're going right over the mountains. You're flying into the mountains,
There's
basically.
always turbulence in Colorado.
Always turbulence. There's been plane crashes there. Like, we've been in Aspen and then heard of a plane crash literally at that airport 2 days before. Like,
can I tangentially say something off of the plane crash?
Yeah.
Have you seen the documentary of the Argentinians that crashed in the Andes Mountains?
No. Was it the Korea plane?
This is a real thing.
That wasn't the Korea plane, right?
No,
the one who like went over the ocean and then just like fell off the face of the earth.
Oh no, that's a real thing too. Which like there are all of these stories about why people should be scared of planes is because like they do crash, just like people are scared of shark attacks. Like they do get attacked.
Well,
but
what
like,
it is your brain seeing evidence and moving that into the subconscious and then creating a belief.
Correct.
That's what it is.
Exactly.
But continue.
No, it's just a little tangent about how everyone needs to watch this incredibly moving documentary of an Argentinian and Uruguayan rugby team that goes on like this big rugby trip to play somewhere, and they crash and they are stuck for 42 days. Yeah.
They were alive?
A lot of them die.
But some of them were alive.
Yep.
That is also my toxic traits. And this might be something from a past life. I know that if I was ever in a situation that was like kind of traumatic, I would survive. Like, I have this toxic trait that if I wasn't a plane crash, I would be the one to live. Travis Barker.
You know what?
Shit.
Like, it's funny because I'm the opposite. I would be like, why are these people even trying to stay alive right now? I would accept my fate.
Oh, no. The only time that I would ever accept my faith in that situation or my fate is in a zombie apocalypse. Or in a nuclear war where people have to like be in bunkers. I'm not living in a bunker for eternity.
I don't know.
Fuck
if I
that.
had a dope ass bunker.
And do what though with your fucking
with
self?
good people?
Do what?
Vibe out?
Groundhog Day every single day. Also, I do not do well with no windows, no sunlight, no fresh air, no breeze. Like, I almost start having panic attacks when I'm inside too long. Like, I need a breeze. Like, even sitting out here, I feel like I have way different energy.
Can we hire a psychiatrist for our team to diagnose all of our problems?
So most podcasters have managers and PR agents, and we have therapists on deck.
Hey, someone's got to break it down for us.
So what I was saying about the planes, whenever I fly on a plane, I've always done this. When we're on takeoff and we're like going up, I always have to say up and away.
You do not.
Every time.
In your head or out loud?
Well, now that I have children, I say it out loud sometimes because it like
so
gets
you're
them
instilling
excited.
that superstition in them.
100%.
What other?
Wait. So I pray first, and I always am like, dear God, please keep me safe on this plane. Keep everybody else safe on this plane.
Every plane
wrap
ride.
the plane in gold leaf. Wrap it in bubble wrap. Get us there smoothly. Like, let the plane glide. Like, yeah, I'm always saying a prayer.
How many people on that plane do you think are saying a prayer?
My guess is at least 65%.
Really?
My guess. Yes.
I guess I've just like...
But I also like could totally be wrong. Maybe it's
No,
less.
I mean, I think a lot of people get really anxious when they fly.
I think if you're a conscious human, you're saying your prayers.
Maybe this is something that changes day by day for me, but like I'm very acceptant of death. I've talked to you about this before. Death is a massive fear
and it,
for
like,
you.
Pisses me off, to be honest. No, it's not a bit. It's not a massive fear. I think I just
No,
have a
it's
fear.
a massive fear.
No, it's not, because if I'm 88 years old, I'm cool.
Listen,
I have a fear of dying too young.
Yeah, I don't have children also. So like I understand that like the only person I have to live for right now is like myself and my family and maybe a partner, but like
your partner.
I am just like so chill. I feel like I've lived such a good life that I'm like I could be all good.
Do you think this is your last life?
No, I feel like I'm a very young soul.
You do?
I don't know. I made that up. I don't.
What do you think? Do you think you're an old soul or a young soul?
Changes day by day. I used to think I was a very young soul.
Huh.
Until I got really into Southeast Asia lore.
Right.
And I felt like I was picking up pieces of myself that have been around for a very, very, very long time.
So maybe you were an old soul that was just a little unconscious.
For sure. I mean, I've had to, like, I'm a culmination of all my past lives.
Yeah.
I've had to go through X amount of past lives to be as conscious as I am for this one. I believe that I have a couple more on Earth.
I agree. I think I'm an old soul, but I think I have another life. Like, I don't think this is my last.
I also think that I have had lives not on Earth.
Whoa. Where the fuck have you been?
Well, I can't tell you. I signed an NDA.
Wait, can I tell you? One of my best friends, Graham, shout out Graham if you're listening to this. He has this vivid memory of him being a milkmaid in Germany. Like, vivid dreams of him, like, literally being a milkmaid. And it's not, like, him physically, but it's him.
You're
soul.
speaking to my soul right now because I unlocked a couple memories of what I've had before. First of all, I'll start by saying that when I was little, I used to pray. I'm not joking, from like my first conscious thoughts for the aliens to abduct me and take me home. Not joking.
Oh my God, you're one of the ones who've been abducted.
I hope so. I don't know.
You think
They've
you've been
microchipped me.
abducted?
I think that after all of my prayers to them, they must have picked me up just to shut me up. Like,
But you said, take me back home?
yeah. Take me home is what I used to tell the aliens.
So you
Pick me
think
up.
you lived on a different planet?
For sure. I think I lived as a different expression of consciousness or light or energy.
Like a star or fucking Pluto, bitch? Get specific.
Well, I haven't weeded out all my theories yet to give you a direct answer. We will do an episode on like past life regressions and like Lemuria. Have you ever heard of, or is it Lemuria?
You've told me this.
Yeah. Lemuria is like inner earth and like past life shit, ancient civilization shit, Atlantis. I'm just saying keywords now. Anyways.
Well, to that point, I feel, and this is kind of where we all kind of went on this tangent, I feel like I definitely have a blockage. I think maybe either something happened to me as a child, which I don't think it did because my parents are very open with me and they would have told me.
Can I do Reiki on you?
Please.
Okay, we need to do an episode where I do Reiki on you because I'm not joking. Like, I felt like I had that blockage my whole entire life until I got Reiki certified, until I got attuned. And that's when I started having all of these flashbacks and all of these memories, like very similar to your friend Graham being a milkmaid. I was a little boy living on the coast of Ireland. I'm not joking, and it's not like
what was your name?
You can see yourself in it. Like, it's not a visualization meditation thing. It's like you can feel, you can know exactly where you are, exactly what body you're in, exactly what sounds and smells you can, like, you're there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's not behind the eyes.
That makes sense.
It's
and
a
I feel
knowing.
like I could benefit. I've had Reiki before, but maybe not with the intention of like really going in.
Yeah.
And letting go, because I also do feel like part of why I feel so blocked in that way is because I do feel like maybe something tragic happened to me in a past life.
Of course, your subconscious is protecting you.
And that is something that I do believe is like your anxiety might not be anxiety from this lifetime.
Oh my gosh, totally. That's generational trauma.
Yes. But what I was saying is I think that there was either something that was traumatic as a child, which I don't think, or tragic in my past life, or a past life that I had zero control and zero autonomy. Because I think the biggest thing that I struggle with in this lifetime is control. And I want to feel in control. And I think that's why I don't let I feel like I physically do not let myself connect with the other realm, or even my subconscious, or even like things that
the conscious mind is really strong.
Yeah.
We live in our conscious mind. Like, that's what makes us feel in control, is when we know exactly what's going on. We know how to manipulate the situation. We know why we're doing what we're doing, right? Like, the second that we feel like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm acting from a place of subconscious, or maybe I'm acting from a place of like, you know, something that is chosen for me, that's when you feel icked about it. Look at those dragonflies.
Oh my gosh.
I'm getting really distracted because I'm watching them land on our stuff.
Do you think they're spirits?
Yeah.
Whoa. What's going on over there?
A wedding?
Oh my God, they're in full
In
like
costumes?
Oh my God,
they
are they doing a photo shoot?
They're doing a photo shoot. They must have just gotten married. He's in a full head to toe red suit with a red top hat, and she's in black wedding dress.
I don't even know, but what are we saying to this golf cart if they come over to us? School project
School project.
for college.
Yeah, because we are studious. We're scholars. Women in STEM.
Talking about the history of Friday the 13th.
We're talking about the history of Friday the 13th. We're talking about...
Did you say we're women in STEM?
Yeah.
What superstitions do you have? Because I have the plain one, and then every single night before I used to go to bed, I had to open my door 3 times and shut it and check underneath my bed.
You were much more superstitious than I did. Am I okay? You're much more superstitious than I did ever. Amanda, carry the episode because I've got a cumulative of 3 brain cells. So what were my superstitions? Definitely don't step on a crack. You'll break your mom's back. That one I followed religiously. I was really scared for my mom. That's really the only one I can remember other than like asking aliens to abduct me. That's it. But you know what? We talked about this before, the funny feeling that I would get when I got out of the bathtub.
Yep.
That was a weird, like...
connection to something else.
Yeah, to another supernatural realm, I believe. Or just like this energy harnessing that I've never felt before. So I've always been very connected to the supernatural and mystical things.
Well, do you think maybe, and this is also... speaking on Reiki too, but do you think maybe it was a lot easier for us as children to access more of a hypnotic state because we didn't have as many stressors, we didn't have as much of a developed conscious mind?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that all you really need for hypnosis is suggestibility.
What does that mean? Like a willingness?
Yeah, suggestibility is like I can convince you into something if you're open to it. You have to be open to hypnosis.
See, I don't think I'm open. I don't think it would work on me, dude.
We should try it sometime. Have you read the book Many Lives, Many Masters?
No, you've asked me this in the first episode.
Well, this book is quite literally one of the best books I've ever written. Oh my God.
She's a podcaster. She's an author. She is the moment.
A woman of many talents, and I am a woman in STEM.
And the arts.
And the arts. I'm a woman of the arts.
The literary arts.
I don't know if I'm okay.
You're going to get copyright infringement for that one.
Okay. Let me sit up. Let me take a little sip of my wine and let me stir it over. Sometimes your brain's firing on all cylinders. Sometimes your car muffler is dragging behind you. And today, folks, I don't know where I am. Like, literally.
That's okay, Jessa. We're holding space for you.
Yeah, and Amanda's really, like, you're articulate today.
I'm on it now.
It's that headscarf.
It is the headscarf. You know what I realized, too? It kind of is giving funeral. How do you feel about that? When you have a funeral, do you want people to wear black?
You're asking me so many questions.
Okay. Jessa's biggest pet peeve is that I'm a curious human being.
No, I love that about you. I think that's something that, like,
every
if
time
you're
I
not
say
a curious human
being, she goes, "What are you two? Are you a toddler?"
No, she just will look at me and ask legitimately 7 times in a row, "Why? But why? But why?" And I'm like, I've run out of responses, okay? We could have settled on 2 whys. Anyways, I don't want people to wear black at my funeral. I want people to celebrate my life. I want it to be outside. I want people to be dancing. I want people to feel really free. I want people to tell stories. Like, inherently, it's going to be sad, and I accept that because people are going to grieve and they're going to mourn. And, like, thank you for that. Thank you. But, but like, have a little fun. And that's really what we tried to do for my grandma's passing. Like, that is a wedding photo shoot, it must be.
No, not a wedding at a cemetery. Come on.
I don't know. They're really playing
I feel like that's sabotaging your wedding.
Do you want people to celebrate?
Oh, maybe it's like death to being single.
Yeah. Till death do us part.
I kind of love that.
Till we kill each other because we're married for too long.
Should we interview them?
Should we?
Maybe if they come back around.
Okay.
Oh, they're their escorts.
If they get close to us, should we call them over? How do we do that gracefully?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't really want to draw attention to us.
Do
I'm feeling
you
a little elusive.
Do you want people to celebrate you?
No, I want them to.
That was a loaded question.
No, of course I do. I honestly want them to dress. Dress is not okay. I want them to dress in their best. Like, I want them to be the fullest expression of themselves because I would hope that what they had to say about me is that I lived the fullest expression of my life.
Yeah.
So I want people to be in bright colors. I want people to be telling speeches. But you know what I did think about is that I never had a wedding, and the two places where people speak about you so highly and tell you how much that they love you, where it's really appropriate, is your wedding and your funeral.
Do you want me to give you like a best woman speech right now?
Please.
Okay. Hi, everyone. It's Maid of Honor here. You're probably wondering why I've invited you all here today. It's a celebration of Amanda and Lucas. And
No, not Lucas, me.
Okay, it's a celebration. Oh, I'm giving you like a death, an obituary.
Just like me.
Okay, so look around, see how amazing the people are around you. That is no exception to the woman who attracted them here. She is glowing. She's amazing. She lived her life to her fullest expression, her fullest extent. She never let anyone dim her light. And so for that, I believe that we should all shine a bit brighter. Oof, okay.
For having written Many Lives, Many Masters, I feel like you could have been a little bit more articulate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like to go by a code name, Dr. Brian Weiss. That is who you'll see that the book is written by, but really it's actually me. We need to talk about Many Lives, Many Masters really quick.
Okay, go.
So Many Lives, Many Masters, because this really
I think I
ties
just need a tiny bit more wine, though.
No, absolutely. So do I. Many Lives, Many Masters was written by Dr. Brian Weiss. It talks a lot about hypnosis, which we touched on, and past life regressions, which we touched on. And it's just this, it's a true story. It's based on true documented psychological events. He is an extremely well-studied psychiatrist. He has degrees from Yale, from Columbia, from just like highly, highly valued universities, and a highly valued professional in his field, where he knew that like his published works and his reputation in the field would be altered if he tried alternative therapies, i.e. hypnosis, and shared things like these past life regression things. So when he started this, he was kind of doing it under wraps, but he was working with this patient, Catherine, and essentially what he finds out is that none of his initial kind of like regular protocols.
How do you put someone under hypnosis? Are you going to explain that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of.
Okay.
He works with this patient, Catherine, who has like a lot of PTSD, just a lot of depression, anxiety, kind of like run-of-the-mill things. And she's just like uncomfy. All of his normal procedures aren't working. And so he's like, I'm going to try hypnosis. Basically what he does is he puts her under. It's almost like accessing this subconscious state. So you put someone in this like deep state of relaxation and suggestibility. Basically by getting them to tune into your voice, your breath, like really, I don't exactly know, like directing them through like
getting them their nervous system calm. The only time I've ever experienced kind of being in the in-between besides sleeping has been through acupuncture. Like I don't fall asleep through acupuncture, but I'm in this like almost I could totally be hypnotized if I was in acupuncture.
Yeah, because your brain waves slow down to an alpha or a theta state. And that's when you're more able to bypass the critical mind.
Got it.
So once you can tap into that subconscious mind, almost like mushrooms, almost like, you know, like an assisted therapy that allows you to kind of like release the ego.
Got it.
So he puts her in these states, and like all of a sudden, session after session after session, she starts recalling all of these past lives that she's lived in immense and articulate detail. And she starts getting emotional about them, and she starts like really, really tuning in and tapping in to these past lives time and time and time again. And then she also starts integrating these messages from who she calls the masters, where it's just a lot of these messages about the point of life and the purpose. And I'm not going to give too much away, but basically like this collective consciousness idea. And so he's noticing too that like all of this is actually, I mean, she'll come out of the state of hypnosis and remember nothing. Remember nothing.
She can't even recall it.
She can't even recall it.
Because her conscious mind is not the one that's accessing it.
Exactly.
Whoa.
And she is now no longer experiencing anxiety, no longer experiencing PTSD, no longer experiencing night terrors or sleep apnea or whatever was happening to her. Like she is like healed. And so finally he decides, you know, the reason this work is published is because he's like, the world needs to know about this regardless of my reputation as a therapist, regardless of like what Western clinical medicine says is right or wrong to diagnose people, to move through. Like, it's considered very alternative, very woo-woo to talk about past life regression via hypnosis. So anyways, put that book on your reading list. It's very appropriate for what we're talking about today. I wrote it. You can leave. You can send me $10 on Venmo if you like it.
Well, I believe it. And I think I would love to experiment with that. I don't know. I have, this is something that I feel like maybe we've talked about, maybe we haven't, but I'm a 2/4 in human design, which is like the hermit and the opportunist. I feel like for the past year, I've been really in my opportunist, where I've been social, where I've been in the conscious mind, where I've been in the ego, where I've just been like out in the world and the external, focus on the external and not so much on my internal. And I feel like I'm slowly making my way back into more of like that hermit mode. And I think I would love to explore those realms, but I believe it. And I think I can access it because I used to also, I was going to bring this up on, I think on our last episode, but then I forgot. But I also, when I was like elementary school, so probably from like 6 to like middle school, high school, 9th grade, I used to look at myself in the mirror for so long until I literally was not my face anymore.
Yeah.
Until I literally was like, I knew who I was in a past life. Like, I'm not looking at Amanda. I'm looking at
weird.
who I was.
The eyes are a window to the soul.
But like whole face morphed.
Yeah. Really strange. That brought me to Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary.
No.
Sorry.
No.
I said it 3 times. I should have said it twice. You would have gotten what I meant.
Beetlejuice, 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 Beetlejuice.
Well, I think it's really like accessing these states of consciousness that may feel subconscious or may feel beyond your conscious, like whichever, way you want to describe it. Access to the supernatural, kind of like paranormal, access to like deeper past lives. I really think it comes from an openness to be like, I am able to, right? Like, I think it just has to be, as with everything, starting with this acceptance that like we are all gifted with the ability to uncover ourselves as easily as we want to. We are our own blockages. We are our own suffering. And so I think that like what you should do is maybe just practice like this acceptance instead of saying like, I'm not able to blank. Or I've never been able to. Just reframe it and just like start to.
I don't know that I want to though.
Yeah.
I'm a little fearful.
Did I tell you about the spirit that lives in my house?
Nope. Get into it.
Okay. Well, I'm serious. Ever since I had this like Reiki attunement where I have this different channel of consciousness open, I have had such a connection to supernatural
Pause
things.
and briefly explain how you get attuned to Reiki to open that channel.
So if you're not familiar with Reiki, Reiki is energy healing, which is a really simplistic term to describe basically like the transmuting of energy through someone's body via the hands. It's like an ancient practice dating all the way back to hieroglyphs in Egypt and like just, again, we all know energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be moved around, transmuted, etc. So it's this channel where you are technically connected to this like consciousness, source, divine, whatever we want to call up here. And you as the practitioner become the channel through your hands to someone's body. And so it's not usually hand to skin touching. It's usually just like above the body. But essentially you're feeling through someone's body. You're understanding blockages. Like you're just like, it's really hard to tell people, to describe to people what Reiki is. And you can only experience the healing powers of Reiki if you're open to it. And even when I went into my training, I was kind of like, well, yeah, obviously I believe in energy, but like, how the fuck am I supposed to do this?
Right.
Like I'm over someone's body. I'm like, I think I feel warm. Like, and then once you really are just like, yeah, I feel warmth. And I am like hearing this message of like, oh, she works with her hands. She's an artist. And it's not you thinking that. Like, it's just not. I do think that before you become a Reiki practitioner, you really have to have consistent meditation practices to be able to drop into that like beta theta brainwave state where like you are very just like there's no conscious thought, there's no ego thought, there's no mind.
Can you
You're
access Reiki without being attuned to it?
Probably, yeah.
Because I feel like when my kids are sick, I like do Reiki on them without having been certified or attuned. Like I literally will put my hand on Ellis's head and be like, I am sending healing vibrations, healing energy. Like
absolutely.
I don't know.
You can absolutely practice it beforehand. I think that's what a lot of people who get the certification realizes. It's like, oh, I've been doing Reiki for so long.
Got it.
I think it's just like mastering a craft, right? Like a certification and an attunement just helps you tap deeper into those powers that you already knew you had. So essentially our attunement ceremony was a 5-hour-long meditation where we sat seated. There was a Reiki master. We're 9th generation Reiki certified, which means that I'm 9 generations from the guy who created Reiki.
Whoa.
Crazy. That's a very rare thing to have. And I will talk all about my Reiki certification and that specific ceremony because it's such a long explanation on a different day. But essentially, you open a new channel of consciousness where you can then access different energetics. And so that happened very palpably, could feel the difference.
Whoa.
And maybe it's placebo, maybe it's not. Who cares? But since then, I've had multiple instances where I've been able to access past life regressions, where I've been able to access more visualizations or connections to like, what's people say, like
The divine.
but like downloads.
Yeah.
Anyways, what did you ask me?
Your spirit in your house.
Oh my gosh. I haven't named her yet. I do believe it's a her.
Okay.
It first began when I was in a fight with my partner. We were in a bit of an argument. I really just like felt like someone was listening. And I was like, someone is fucking listening to this and I don't like it because that's embarrassing and you don't want people to listen to you fight. And I felt like this sense of like having to filter myself because I was like I don't want people to listen to my fight, you know, but I couldn't figure out. It wasn't someone like in the hallway. It wasn't someone upstairs. Like I just felt like someone was listening. And then I felt like I knew exactly where they were listening from. And it was like perched above my bed. I have like a fireplace mantle. And I felt like.
You also have 2 mirrors.
Oh yeah, my house is filled with mirrors. My house is an old ass house.
But it's also like you have a full on portal facing your bed.
Yeah.
So
the feng shui needs an adjustment. But anyways, I just feel like there's someone in my house and I feel like they're a really kind spirit. They're not there to be malicious. They're just very curious.
Why do you feel it's a her?
Like sometimes I just know.
What,
I just know.
What gives it?
It's how do you describe knowingness? Like it's just
How do you say?
How do you say? It's a her. It's a she. She identifies with she, her.
She, her.
It's a Caesar them. I just know that it's a woman because I also feel like this is going to sound funny, but it's not funny because it's actually how I feel. Is that like she's on my side?
Yeah, she gets it.
Like when I was in that argument, I was like, this person isn't, or this thing isn't malicious. They understand where I'm coming from. Mm-hmm. Like I just could tell that it was a woman. Don't know how old, not young, not old, probably mid-age. If it's a human. But I think that it was someone maybe who lived in the house and is just there like genuinely like, oh, who's hanging out here?
She's there for the hot goss.
She's just like living and listening and hanging. And I have to ask her to leave sometimes. And she respects that.
And she does.
She does. I kind of just say like, I want this to be a safe, in my head or out loud, but I kind of say like, I want this to be a safe conversation. I want this to be, with myself or between us or whoever. And I ask her to leave and she listens. Sometimes I feel like she's there when I go to bed. And that's sometimes when I'm like, can I just be alone right now? Like you're weirding me out a little. Mm-hmm. It sounds so funny, but it's so intuitive.
Yeah. No, I get that.
I haven't seen her in a while though. Ever since my landlord passed.
Do you think maybe she had a tie to your landlord? Maybe. And she was waiting for your landlord to pass over to go?
Should we try to summon her?
Not right here. You think?
Not here, in my house.
Yes.
But in a really nice, like, we want to put you on the podcast.
We want to get you Instagram famous. The house that we live in now, the previous owner died in. And I'm not sure if his wife did too. Because I know
died in your house?
Well, I know she passed before he did, and it was because she had cancer, and it was tragic, and he just was never the same. Because there's a lovely woman, Pat, down the street, who's 80-something years old, and she told me, she's like, his wife had cancer. He was great, but like just was so bitter and heartbroken when she died, and so he was a little bit of like a bitter man. And they have said, like, she has said that he had a heart attack in the house. And she was like, it was so sudden. Like, I literally was speaking to him like one day, and then like the next day he was just done. And so when I moved in, I went around and I saged the entire house. And the whole time I was saging the house, I said, I think his name was Tom. If I'm remembering correctly, I was like, Tom, thank you so much for giving us your house. Like, we are so grateful to be here. Please, we will keep it safe. Please do not,
haunt us.
bother us, basically. Like,
Tommy, I got kids, honey.
We are so grateful. And, sometimes I feel like maybe he lingers because I do feel like the kids...
Yeah, kids are perceptive as fuck.
I don't think that they've ever said that somebody's in there and they've never been scared, but I do feel like they've sensed something. And again, there's no like specific example. Just as a mother, I do feel that intuition that they have because they've just from behavior of like being scared to go to bed. And I think that's also just a kid thing, but like they've had some moments where, and Ellis has had some moments where he's like pointed and been like...
That's
what I mean?
That's a really crazy thing though that reverts back to what you were saying about like us wanting to be in control. Kids don't even understand that they want their conscious mind to be in control yet, and so they have a lot more like openness, suggestibility, like acceptance to communicating with other realms or spirits, or like having this perceptiveness to different energies that we block ourselves off as humans. We numb ourselves out to as adults.
Well, and I'm always trying to pry their subconscious minds. I'm always trying to be like,
The
so where'd you come
kiddos?
from?
Yeah,
Where
tell
were you
me
before
about
this?
yeah.
And I'm like, do you remember being in mommy's belly? And Lennox is like, no. Ellis, I feel like kind of is a little bit more in tune. I always say Ellis is an old soul. Lennox is very much a new soul.
Love.
But
What do you feel like you are?
old soul.
Yeah, I think so too for you.
I think I'm an old soul.
You know why I think that is because I think that you are really such a good portrayal of like what we're trying to do in this podcast of like consciously unconscious, which tells me that like you have to be an old soul to like understand all these theoretical abstract concepts and still be able to just like play and have fun and not take things seriously.
Yeah, and I feel like when I was in college and I was first on my journey, I was only in the like very conscious state.
Of course, and that's exhausting.
It was grueling. And I was like,
Yeah.
I can't live here. I can't be here all the time. So that's also why like this is a thing. But I always am asking my kids, like, where did you come from? What's going on? And the other day we were in the car and Lennox was like, he loves stories. He loves telling stories. It's been a big thing for potty training. If you're a mom, the best thing for him to actually go poop on the potty has been telling him stories while he's sitting there.
How old are you when you poop on a potty?
Like 3, 4?
What? You poop in a diaper till you're 4 years old?
Yeah, 3. Well, most people do it around like almost 3 and then 3. Lennox took a really long time.
We start in diapers and we end in diapers.
Dude. Lennox also always says like, one day you'll be a baby again and I'll take care of you, mama.
I'm obsessed with that.
And I'm like...
Can we
You're
get
so
Lennox on the
right.
pod?
He'd be good. He loves it. He loves the mic. And I also feel like that's why he's a new soul, because he's here to have a good fucking time. Ellis is way more observant. Like, I've been around the block. Where I think I was telling a story or we were listening to a story and Lennox started telling a story. And he was like, Ellis, remember, we were living in a city together. We were living in a city. And I was like, what did you just say? And he's like, we were living in a city, mama. Like, we were living in a city. And Ellis was like, yeah, he was like, we were grown up and we were living in a city. And I
just got chill.
And Ellis, fucking Ellis goes, no, I'm Ellis. He was like, so.
The fuck you
He
saying?
was so like, bro, I'm Ellis in this lifetime. Shut the fuck up. Like,
Dude.
But you know.
Babies don't even know that they're alive.
Do you believe that, like, your family was also your family in a different life, just like in a different kind of dynamic?
Maybe a different context.
Like,
I think that
maybe
you stay...
Lennox was my dad or something. Do you know
Sure,
what I mean?
I think that you stay connected to like souls that you really have like this...
A bond with.
Yeah. I fully believe... The place that I see it the most is Joseph and I, my partner and I. Is that I am like, I've just known you in a different life. In a very different way. Like, I feel like you were my brother. Maybe that's why you piss me off so much.
Ah.
My brother currently doesn't piss me off. Like, my real brother.
Yeah.
Love him.
Yeah.
Chill. But I feel like in a past life, Joseph was my brother. And we were like,
Yeah.
you know, the siblings that were like fighting.
Well, do you believe in like twin flames and soulmates?
Oh, we have a full episode in the,
Okay,
in the
so we'll
outline
save
about
that.
soulmates and twin flames. But I think today was really, you know what? You talk.
Okay.
I have nothing to say.
She's gonna have another stroke, so maybe I should.
I've been stroking out, and you know what? Like, part of me, let me just fucking put this out there as a limiting belief if we're talking about the conscious mind and just like real fucking consciously unconscious shit, is that during this podcast, I had a very hard time dropping in because I felt like I wasn't contributing. I felt like I wasn't asking questions. I felt like I literally couldn't formulate a sentence, didn't know where I was. I was in a different realm. And I think that like, this is a perfect example of just having to release control and having to just be like, all right, this pod's going to be what it's going to be. Amanda's fucking carrying this team on 3 glasses of wine. Yeah. We absolutely love it. And I did have moments of greatness.
You did.
And so did you.
You know what I was going to say is, I was going to say this, I think this is our best one yet. So I think you need to just get out.
I'm upset.
I think you need to just get the fuck out of your ego.
No, but like, I need to go.
Okay, let me wrap up then. What I was going to say is that wrapping this all up into Friday. Were you just doing a headstand?
I was going to, but then I realized that I'm in a full dress. Yeah, go ahead. Wrap up the episode.
Wrapping this up into the Friday the 13th episode is Friday the 13th is actually about celebrating the divine feminine. Yeah. And what I mean by that is 13 is the number of divine femininity. There's 13 lunar cycles in the year. Women usually have 13 menstrual cycles in a year. We ovulate around day 13. Like 13 is a very divine feminine number. And so I feel like if you're like kind of in the spooky Friday the 13th type of subconscious belief, maybe reframe that into, this is a day to celebrate my divine femininity.
Yeah, what she said. Yeah. What she said.
We're gonna go because Jessa's about to get like, she's gonna start twerking on these tombs. Like,
let me, like, there's something about just being on the grass, you know, just laying down flat on the grass. Honestly, that was really well said, Amanda.
Thank you. I'm feeling articulate. Maybe it's the wine. I think so. Thanks so much for listening. All of our Instagram, TikTok information is in the show notes below. We'll see you in the next episode.
We love you. I love you the most. Bye. I love you more than Amanda does.